Nikola Tesla was a legendary physicist and inventor whose genius continues to inspire admiration to this day. He was the first to invent alternating current and envisioned a world where electricity could be accessed by everyone free of charge. Unfortunately, many of Tesla's ideas were never realized due to a lack of financial support. However, among them were truly unique inventions that I would like to share with you in this video. Enjoy watching! Wardencliff Tower. After returning to New York from Colorado, Tesla published a sensational article in Century magazine. In the article, he described a means of harnessing solar energy using an antenna. According to Tesla, this would enable weather control and provide the world with wireless communication. The influential American banker J.P. Morgan took interest in the technology described in the article. In a personal meeting, Tesla explained to him the incredible possibilities of wireless communication, such as transmitting photographs and letters across the world in an instant. Tesla envisioned that, with the implementation of his technology, the Earth would become a colossal brain capable of responding in every part of its being. Undoubtedly, Morgan was intrigued by the idea and offered Tesla $150,000 for the construction of the transmitting tower and the power station. Tesla realized that this amount would be insufficient, but decided not to risk such significant financial support and accepted to begin his work. For the construction of the Wardencliff Tower, banker James Warden allocated 81 hectares of land on the cliffs of Long Island Sound. The tower was named Wardencliff in his honor. Wardencliff was intended to rise 57 meters high and support a 55-ton steel sphere at its top. Beneath the tower, at a depth of 36.5 meters, there was a shaft. 16 iron pipes were laid at a depth of 120 meters to allow currents to pass through them and capture the Earth. Tesla explained that according to his calculations, this system needed to grasp the Earth to make it tremble. The allocated investments proved insufficient to complete the construction of the tower. Tesla informed Morgan about this, but the latter began to doubt the inventor's success and hesitated to provide a positive response. In the meantime, on December 12, 1901, sensational news broke. Sensational news broke that Guglielmo Marconi had successfully transmitted a radio signal across the Atlantic Ocean. Tesla was not surprised by this achievement and accused Marconi of using his 17 patents to transmit the signal. However, Morgan considered Tesla a fraud and refused to provide further funding, arguing that Marconi's system not only worked but was also cost-effective. No persuasions from Tesla had any effect on Morgan. Moreover, during the same period, the stock market crashed and the cost of materials for the tower doubled. The high prices and lack of financial support led to the project's closure, and it never became a reality. In 1917, the US authorities decided to demolish the unique structure. However, the tower proved to be so sturdy that it could only be brought down by an explosion. After this significant failure, Tesla suffered a severe nervous breakdown and took a long time to recover. Regarding the collapse of his idea, he said, "It is not a dream, it is a simple feat of scientific electrical engineering, only expensive." Images of thoughts. Tesla believed that a person's thoughts could be photographed. He came to this conclusion during experiments in 1893. Decades later, Tesla told a newspaper reporter that he had become convinced that a particular image formed in the mind through reflex action must create a corresponding image on the retina, and that image could be read by a special device. Tesla envisioned reflecting the image onto an artificial retina, photographing it and then projecting the image onto a screen. If he had succeeded in bringing his idea to life, objects imagined by a person could be displayed on the screen, meaning that every thought of a person could be read. In that case, according to the inventor, our minds would be like open books. Radio-controlled boat. In 1898, Tesla received a patent describing remote radio control. At the Electrical Exposition in Madison Square Garden, he publicly demonstrated his first working model of a radio-controlled robot in the form of a boat. Tesla proved to the astonished audience that it was possible to operate without wires. This invention can rightfully be considered the origin of robotics. Tesla claimed that the radio-controlled ship created a sensation unlike any of his other inventions. As was often the case with his creations, many people didn't know how to react to this fantastic robot. Some believe Tesla was controlling the boat using the power of his mind. In reality, he transmitted signals to the mechanism using a small box with control levers. Tesla's US patent number 613,809 describes the first device with wireless remote control capable of receiving signals and powered by a built-in battery. Tesla didn't limit his method to boats. He generalized the potential of the invention, including all types of vehicles and mechanisms driven for any purpose. During the invention's presentation, he mentioned that according to his technology, just a few individuals could remotely control 100 ships or any other vehicles. However, journalists understood these words in their own way and inquired whether Tesla could make a boat submerge and transport weapons autonomously. This question upset the inventor since he had a negative attitude towards anything related to war. Tesla clarified to the journalists that his technology aimed to alleviate human labor, and in the near future, robots would be able to perform the most laborious tasks. Unfortunately, Tesla's invention was so far ahead of its time that those who observed it couldn't grasp its practical application. Seismic Machine. In 1898, Tesla managed to frighten almost the entire city of New York. During the calibration of a small machine, the inventor's laboratory began shaking with such force that it nearly collapsed the building. Tesla later revealed that he was experimenting with vibrations and attempting to tune them to the building where his laboratory was located. When all the heavy machinery started flying around the laboratory, Tesla grabbed a hammer and smashed the generator, realizing that the building couldn't withstand the oscillations and would simply collapse. However, this experiment was enough to attract the attention of the police and emergency services to the scene. At that time, Tesla did not admit that the incident was his doing. This experiment inspired the inventor to create his telegeodynamic generator, which would assist scientists in exploring the geological properties of the Earth and locating mineral deposits and ores underground. Tesla was unable to create his own seismic machine, but nowadays scientists and engineers utilize the same principles that Tesla only left on paper. Artificial waves. Tesla revealed his latest invention for preventing wars to the newspaper New York World. His project included the use of wireless telegraphy to detonate powerful explosives in the sea. The strong explosion would then create tidal waves of such magnitude that they could overturn entire enemy fleets. The newspaper reported that the artificial tidal wave could render naval forces as useless as paper boats launched by children. According to Tesla, his invention could bring the day of universal peace closer. Wireless energy. By the late 1890s, Tesla had come to the conclusion that at high altitudes, due to the more rarefied air, electrical energy could be transmitted without the use of wires. He became obsessed with the idea of proving that energy could be obtained from the ionosphere. However, Tesla needed financial support for this endeavor as well. This remarkable theory caught the interest of Tesla's friend Leonard E. Curtis, as well as Colonel John Jacob Astor, who decided to invest $30,000 in the experiment. After securing sponsorship for his research, Tesla traveled to Colorado in May 1899, where he and his assistants began construction of a new experimental station near Pikes Peak. To capture public attention, Tesla also informed journalists that he intended to send a radio signal from Pikes Peak to Paris, but he did not disclose the details of how he would achieve this. In Colorado, Tesla embarked on his scientific investigations. He soon discovered that the Earth was literally alive with electrical vibrations. Tesla concluded that when lightning strikes the Earth, it generates powerful waves that travel from one side of the Earth to the other. Tesla theorized that if the Earth were a great conductor, he could transmit an unlimited amount of energy to any point on the globe. To test this theory, he needed to become the first person to create electrical waves comparable to lightning. Tesla's laboratory in Colorado was an astonishing structure with a retractable roof as well as a 27-meter wooden tower that protected the laboratory from fire. At the top was a 43-meter metal mast supporting a large copper sphere. Inside the wooden tower, there was a huge Tesla coil specifically designed to deliver powerful electrical impulses into the ground. On the day Tesla was to conduct his experiment, all the equipment was meticulously checked. The inventor also instructed his chief mechanic to throw the switch for only 1 second. Afterward, the secondary coil began to spark and crackle, surrounded by a terrifying blue electric arc. Satisfied with the result, Tesla ordered the mechanic to close the switch. Enormous blue arcs of electricity writhed up and down the central coil. Flashes of artificial lightning, over 30 meters long, leapt from the mast atop the station. Unfortunately, however, an incident occurred during the experiment, and the dynamo machine at the El Paso Electric Company burned out. As a result, the entire town was left without electricity. The power station manager was furious and insisted that Tesla repair the damage and compensate for the losses incurred. In addition to the well-known experiment, Tesla conducted other remarkable investigations in his laboratory in Colorado Springs. One of his pursuits was to demonstrate that the ionosphere could be used as a conductor of radio waves. In his laboratory, he succeeded in receiving and recording cosmic radio waves on his sensitive instruments. He realized that his theory was correct and claimed to have detected extraterrestrial radio signals. Unfortunately, the scientific community did not believe him, primarily because knowledge of cosmic radio signals did not yet exist at the time. Today, of course, we know that Tesla was not lying. Observatories and laboratories worldwide have been registering cosmic radio waves emitted by hydroxyl molecules in the clouds of interstellar gas and the envelopes of red giant stars for several decades. These faint, highly penetrating radio waves have frequencies ranging from 1610.6 to 1613.8 MHz. Typically, they are emitted by any cosmic material with a temperature above absolute zero, -273.15 degrees Celsius. Furthermore, scientists now understand that Tesla was correct in his theory about the ionosphere. The ionosphere does indeed serve as an excellent conductor of radio waves. Teleforce. Since his childhood, Tesla's father instilled in him a strong aversion to war. Therefore, the legendary inventor dedicated a lot of time to ideas on how to swiftly eliminate enemy armies in the event of war. And one day, he came up with a way to accomplish just that. One of his most iconic and controversial inventions was called Teleforce. Tesla decided to share the idea of its creation with the public. On July 11, 1934, a sensational article was published in the New York Times where Tesla extensively described the invention. According to him, the device was capable of destroying up to 10,000 soldiers at a distance of 400 kilometers. The device's operation was based on the use of ionized metal beams that would travel at a speed of nearly 500,000 kilometers per hour. Their power was expected to reach a staggering 100 billion watts, resulting in instant enemy annihilation. Teleforce is often mistakenly referred to as the death ray, while Tesla himself stated that his project had nothing to do with that concept. According to him, beams cannot be produced in the necessary quantities and their intensity diminishes rapidly with distance. Thus, his project involved the use of particles, not beams. Tesla, of course, realized that he would need a substantial amount of money to implement the project. He decided to approach the wealthiest American entrepreneur, John Pierpont Morgan, who previously sponsored his ideas. However, due to an old conflict, Morgan refused to support him. The great inventor also attempted to contact British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain, but his proposal failed to generate interest from the statesman. After various attempts to find financial support worldwide for the betterment of peace, Tesla reached out to leaders of different countries, including the United States, Canada, England, France, and the USSR. As proof of the seriousness of his project, he sent a scientific document titled The New Art of Projecting Concentrated Non-Dispersive Energy Through Natural Media. In it, he described a vacuum tube with an open end and gas ceiling that allows particles to exit, as well as a method for charging particles to millions of volts and creating the directing non-dispersive particle streams using electrostatic repulsion. His idea sparked serious interest from the Soviet authorities. Through the Soviet arms front in New York, Tesla was paid $25,000 for complete information on the method and apparatus, but it is unclear whether any physical device was transmitted to the Soviet government. There were enough discovered documents and project ideas, as described by the inventor himself, to develop a Teleforce prototype, which was actually undertaken by a group of scientists from the University of Adelaide. Who knows, perhaps one day the world will learn about a cutting-edge weapon that can put an end to wars worldwide. Ozone generator. In 1903, Tesla was in despair after John Morgan's refusal to further finance his inventions. Tesla needed to regain his reputation, and he confessed to Morgan that he would release a certain commercial device that the whole world would use. In 1906, Tesla founded the Tesla Ozone Company and patented the first portable ozone generator in the United States. The device was intended to contribute to air purification in enclosed spaces. At the beginning of the 1900s, people were seriously concerned about the harmful smoke generated by the burning of a vast amount of coal. It was believed that this was causing new diseases to emerge. City dwellers had little control over the polluted air outside their homes, but they tried various ways to eliminate it indoors. This is where the generator came into play, as it would ozone the air in a way that it acquired antiseptic properties. Later on, it was discovered that Tesla's device did not possess such properties, and on the contrary, ozone could be harmful to humans when used indoors. While ozone in the upper layers of the atmosphere provides essential protection against solar ultraviolet radiation, it can be detrimental to human health in confined spaces. Similar generators are now prohibited for mass consumption in the US. They are only allowed for water sterilization and specific equipment. However, charlatans continue to promote ozone therapy as a cure for cancer and AIDS. flying apparatus. In 1913, Tesla warned the public that one day they would see him flying in the sky from New York to Colorado Springs. In the years following the Wright brothers' first flight, many scientists, including Einstein and Edison, were eager to create their own flying apparatus. In the early 20th century, numerous patents for eccentric aircraft designs were presented by various inventors, and Tesla was certainly not an exception. In 1928, at the age of 72, Nikola Tesla received his final patent, titled Aerial Transportation. The flying apparatus was brilliantly designed and resembled a combination of a helicopter and an airplane. In his project, Tesla described and illustrated an open box type craft with a tilting propeller and wing. According to Tesla, the device was expected to weigh around 363 kilograms. The flying apparatus could take flight from any point, be it a garage or a rooftop. Its cost was intended to be $1,000 regardless of the purpose for which it would be acquired. This invention served as the precursor to the modern tilt-rotor aircraft or vertical short takeoff and landing (VSTOL) airplane. Unfortunately, Tesla never had the funds to create a prototype, and he was unable to soar through the skies from New York to Colorado Springs. Supersonic dirigibles. In 1919, Tesla described his idea of a supersonic dirigible that would operate solely on wireless electrical transmission from ground towers. According to his words, the aircraft would be able to ascend to an altitude of over 10 kilometers above the ground and fly at speeds of 1,000 miles per hour, enabling a flight from New York to London in just 3.5 hours. In an article published in the July issue of the Reconstruction magazine in 1919, Tesla discussed his work on developing supersonic dirigible and explained that the power source was practically limitless, as the dirigible could be supplied with energy from any number of power plants, just like trains running on rails. In our present day, this idea seems quite feasible, but in the early 20th century, it sounded too fantastical for anyone to believe in. Fate of Tesla's works after his death. There is a legend that after Tesla's death in 1943, many of his scientific works were stolen. The most valuable ones for the FBI and other US government organizations were the blueprints for an improved version of the Teleforce, also known as the Death Ray. On the morning following the inventor's death, his nephew, Yugoslavian official Sava Kosanovic, hurried to his uncle's hotel room at the New Yorker. After inspecting the room, he claimed that certain technical documents and a black notebook that Tesla had carefully guarded were missing from the safe. Assistant Director Peter Foxworth of the New York FBI office was called in to investigate the theft. According to him, the government was interested in preserving Tesla's documents, and all of his property was confiscated. To analyze the recovered documents, Dr. John Trump, an electrical engineer from the National Defense Research Committee of the Office of Scientific Research and Development, was summoned. After thorough examination, he concluded that Tesla's thoughts and efforts over the last 15 years were purely speculative, philosophical, and somewhat promotional, often related to production and wireless energy transportation. After the end of World War II, the beam weapon once again garnered increased interest. Copies of Tesla's documents were sent to the Patterson Air Force Base to assess the feasibility of the inventor's concept. However, the results of the experiment were never published. In 1952, the remaining papers and property of Tesla were returned to Belgrade, where a museum was established in his honor. For many years, Western scientists were unable to access most of the inventor's archived documents. However, this restriction did not apply to Soviet scientists who visited as a part of delegations in the 1950s. In 1960, the General Secretary of the CPSU Central Committee, Nikita Khrushchev, announced to the Supreme Soviet that a new and fantastic weapon was under development in the Soviet Union. This news horrified the world, and many scientists believed that Khrushchev had obtained the actual project for creating the Teleforce. Meanwhile, the United States continued their attempts to develop beam weapons. In 1958, the Advanced Research Projects Agency initiated a top-secret project to develop a particle beam weapon. Due to high financial and time costs, the project was eventually abandoned. American scientists themselves denied ever having knowledge of Tesla's documents. In the late 1970s, the Americans believed that a large-scale beam weapons production facility was being constructed near the Sino-Soviet border. In 1983, President Ronald Reagan announced the so-called Strategic Defense Initiative and called on American scientists to dedicate their great talents to the cause of world peace and develop a comprehensive missile defense system with elements of space-based deployment. After half a century of research and billions of dollars invested, the program is still considered a failure, as actual means of defense against missile attacks were never created. For many years, scientists have not been able to find Tesla's missing documents. It is quite possible that if Nikola Tesla knew the means for accurately projecting deadly energy beams through the atmosphere, they were likely stored in his mind. And that's all for me. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. Your engagement means the world to me. Thank you for your attention. See you soon. Goodbye.